Hi, welcome back to our channel, Two Brothers Opinions. My name is Barry. This is my brother Mark.
Yep. So today, I wanted to try something totally different. I want to throw up a topic to you.
Okay, I have no idea.
Yeah.
No
and
idea.
And I'm just going to throw out a topic and then we'll go.
Okay.
So this will be 100% like our opinion.
Our opinion and not rehearsed, not even research.
And pretty raw. Right. No research at all.
No research.
So the topic I want to bring up is feminism.
Okay.
Right. Now, I know the first thing that people are going to say, especially women, are, how are two guys going to talk about feminism when you're not women, when you're not females? Except we have opinions.
We have opinions.
That's what this show is.
Yeah.
So we're going to have opinions about feminism.
And right now, in the state of this world, I could be anything I want to be.
It's true. I can do it.
I'm a tire now.
For the next 20 minutes, we can identify as whatever we want.
Yep.
Anyways, so I just have a couple of things. I want to go over the roles of mothers, and wives.
Okay.
And the effect on family. So
this is going to be interesting.
Yeah, I know. Now I just want to hit you with this first and get the ball rolling. But yeah, I just want to talk about how feminism has affected women since the 60s, probably.
Okay.
Probably the last 60 years
Sure.
at least. And how it's changed our culture, the way families are.
Yep.
You know, we talked before about, at least when I grew up, our mom was a stay-at-home mom.
Mm-hmm.
So dad went out and worked two full-time jobs and a part-time job all at the same time, so that my mom could be home and take care of us. And she loved doing that. And a lot of the families on our street growing up, all the moms were home. Yeah. And even when we moved to Waterbury, even when we walked to school and stuff, there were a lot of moms that were out, a lot of grandmothers that were out.
Yeah.
And they all knew everybody. So,
everybody knew everybody.
Right. So they were home. And then, you get the feminist movement that started to tell women, you could be everything. You could be everything to everybody. You can, you can work, you can take care of a family, you can do the cooking, you can take care of everything else and more. And
I like the burn your bra part.
Yeah.
That was the best for me.
Yeah, that was but you look at the effect on women.
Sure.
They're more anxious, they're more depressed, they're on more antidepressants and other drugs, they're stressed out, and all they hear is, well, I got to do more because I'm supposed to be able to do everything.
Yeah.
So that's the topic.
This is good.
Yeah,
this is good. I think we're perfect because we're baby boomers.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm the last of the baby boomers.
Yep.
They argue 63, 64. I really don't care. I was born in 63.
I think it was 63.
Yeah, but so anyhow, what I saw is mom being home all the time.
Mm.
All the time. I got up in the morning. Ma was there cooking. What do you want for breakfast? Make pies, cookies.
Helped us with homework too.
Yeah, help us with homework. The house was spotless. You could eat off the floor, literally.
Yeah. And when she had downtime moments, even like when I was like really little, there was a neighbor up the road who would come down with her kids, and all the kids would crash, and that they had time to be social. Mm-hmm. Like, so there were other women, and they would have coffee. They would have lunch together. When we were in this, like, especially when you were like in a stroller, they would walk together with their kids in the stroller. It's like, so they had a social world, mm-hmm. and they didn't get that message like, well, that's not enough. You need to be more. So that was.
But all the shows that I used to watch, the black and white shows from the past, moms didn't walk around with pearls around their neck wearing a dress, like Leave It to Beaver. But that was, and people might get offended, that was their role as a woman, to take care of the kids.
And women are made, I know some women are going to be pissed about this, but women are made for that. They're more emotional. They're more about, but they're more about.
No. We just got done talking about that.
But they're more about like nurturing and taking care of.
Understanding.
Yeah, they're better at that than
a guy.
Than men are. We're more like,
Shut up and go to work.
Well, yeah, it's like I got to get up and go to work, provide for my family, and if there's a problem, let me fix it, because fixing the problem is taking care of my family. So my role would be to get up and go to work. I mean, there was a time when I was delivering 150 newspapers in the morning, like from 4 o'clock in the morning. Mm-hmm. I started delivering 150 newspapers. Then I went to work in the factory from 7 to 3. Mm-hmm. And then I got out and worked for a cleaning company that cleaned 2 banks. So I used to work basically like 2 part-time jobs and a full-time job.
Sure.
And I wasn't getting home until 8, 9 o'clock at night.
I've done that.
Yeah, I know.
I've full-time work, go home, take a shower, have something to eat, and go work. I worked at a gas station.
Yeah.
Cleaning, running register, whatever I needed to do.
Right, but for us, it wasn't like, well, you need to do more. It's like, well, that's what I'm supposed to do. I'm a guy. I take care of my family. I gotta go to work, and if I come home and my house is neat, my kids are fed, and everybody, the bills are paid, I'm doing my job. But women didn't get that. They got, well, you can do more. You still have to do more. It's like,
yeah, don't rely on a guy.
Right.
But I understand that concept too, not relying on a man. But I do understand that. But if you're in a role together as husband and wife and kids come along, there is a role for each person. I think it was planned, personally.
Well, yeah, it goes back to LBJ.
There we go again.
No, yeah, it does go back to LBJ. He was an asshole, by the way.
Yeah, we could say that.
But I said it, well, YouTube, if they like it or not, I don't care. But anyways, when they started subsidizing single motherhood, it made it financially better if a woman had kids with different fathers and could stay home and they would get more money from the government.
Or if the man walked out of the marriage, there was no child support.
Right. But that's where family would have stepped in. I think that's where like extended family would have stepped in. And,
grandma, grandpa.
Yeah.
They always helped.
Would have helped out. So, but anyways, I just, these are the kinds of things that I was thinking, like, this be a good topic. To see how different it is. And I don't know what it would be like. I mean, I don't know how women deal with some of this stuff today. You need to be more, you need to do more, you can do more, you should be. And then there's the, well, women will say, well, we don't make what men make. We make 72 cents for every dollar that a man makes. And that statistic is completely wrong, because they don't take into effect how many hours worked. They don't take into effect the types of jobs. They just say, you look at men and they work and they make X amount of money, but they don't, there's not women that are out, on a drilling platform in the middle of the Gulf of America.
There probably are.
There might be, and those women would be making the same as the guy. Mm-hmm. But when you take a woman who, I saw this the other day, a guy was saying when a woman works in a job where there's air conditioning, she's going to make less than a guy who's a plumber or working like on an oil rig, or like you're going to make less.
Construction.
It's a totally different job.
Construction.
But if they're both doing the exact same job, they can make the exact same money.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, the field that I was in for a while, home care, and it was basically the equipment, CPAPs, beds, walkers, commodes, liquid oxygen, regular oxygen, not just the liquid. And all my bosses were women, and I know they made more than me.
Right.
I didn't complain because that was my role.
Yeah.
That was my role.
Yeah.
To do that job, and I had no problem taking orders from a woman. Not one problem.
Right.
That was my boss.
That was the boss. Right.
Yep.
Didn't matter if it was male or female.
Nope.
If someone says you need to bring this oxygen to that address, okay, that's my job. I bring it there. So yeah, it's not that, but it's if you take the head of the company or someone that's a CEO or something, a chief financial officer or something like that, and if it's a guy, and then you try to compare that to a woman who is just a manager in an office, well, they're not going to make the same money.
Nope.
I mean, and partly it's because the person who owns the business is the one with all the risk. They're the ones putting all their money into the business to try and grow the business so other people could come and work. So that's the other thing that drives me crazy. Is like people want to make the same amount of money, but they don't want to take the risk. The risk is
They say most millionaires and billionaires have gone bankrupt at least once.
At least.
And just kept trying again until they became successful.
And that's the risk. And then if you make it, and let's say you're a millionaire or a billionaire, then people are like, well, billionaires don't need that much money. They took the risk.
They took the risk. It's all theirs.
If you want to be a billionaire, go take a risk.
Yep.
You know,
like the guy
start
that
a business.
I know, getting off a little bit, but the guy that Mike's Jersey Mike Subs. He started at, I think, 18 years old. He bought a sandwich shop, and he just sold it not that long ago for over $1 billion. It's his money.
Right.
He started with the risk,
and
then it just kept expanding. It's his money. I don't care if he got $1. It's his dollar.
Yep.
He's got over $1 billion. It's his dollar.
Well, and I don't think that they advertise women who might take that same risk. I mean, there are women who are millionaires and billionaires. Do other women say, well, that woman shouldn't have that kind of money? Well, no, they would be like, well, she earned it.
Yeah.
So, but no, I think the effect on the family has fallen apart. I don't think there's that core at home where the kid gets up in the morning, goes off to school, comes home, mom is there. Mm-hmm. Now, some people would say, well, the dad could do that job too. You know, mom could go off to work and make and there are stay-at-home dads. 500, right, and have a stay-at-home dad. And while that's better than nobody being there, I still think women are better at nurturing and that kind of stuff. They're just, I think biologically, they're better at that. We're better at, okay, what's your homework? Let's sit down, let's do it. I mean, I do that with my daughter. It's like, when it comes to math, she's like, Dad, I got math. I'm like, all right, let's sit down and do it. When it comes to creative writing, that's when she looks for her mom. And she's like, Mom, we need to work. Not that I couldn't do it, but
she's better at
creative writing. They're better at that. I'm better at, give me a math or a science problem. We'll figure it out. We'll get it done. So, yeah, I think feminism has been a huge detriment to women.
Society.
Well,
in the United
society
States.
as a whole.
I still think it was done purposely.
Yeah, I do too.
To break up the family unit.
Yeah, because if you break up the family unit, then who do you look to for that structure? The government. A lot of people do. It's the same thing, like whether it's food stamps or whatever. Housing. It was welfare. I don't know. I was welfare when we were kids.
Yeah, welfare.
Now, but then they put little funny little thing. There's the SNAP program. SNAP sounds better than hey, we're giving you money to go feed yourself, or whatever. So yeah, I think it's been a huge detriment to not only the individual woman, but the family as a whole and the country as a whole.
Yep. Anything else on that?
No, that was just enough to get it started.
We can still keep going. Okay.
Yeah.
I thought you had something else.
No, that was just enough. Couple of things to just get the ball rolling and to see. But those are my opinions. Like, this has been a horrible thing for society. But you probably look at whether it's Japan, India, other countries who may be more traditional. My guess is they're more stable. You look at who, again, it may be stereotyping, but who are the more advanced kids in terms of education? Asians and kids. Indians. Yeah. Yep.
It's funny that you say that, because I knew a guy that I was a manager at a convenience store and a gas station, and the guy that used to come in and relieve me so I could do my managerial work, he was Indian, from India.
Yeah.
Married, nice family. He says to me one day, he says, I want to open up my own place. I want to buy my own place. Will you help me and show me how to do things? And I did. I showed him how to do ordering, everything that I could show him how to do to get started. And I said, well, how are you going to get the money to do this? And don't worry, my aunties and my uncle and family.
Yeah.
He says, I'm going to borrow $10,000 here, $10,000 here, $10,000 here. He got $60,000. He went to the bank with $60,000. Said, I got $60,000 cash that I saved. I want to buy a convenience store. They gave it to him. So how are you going to pay that back? He said, we'll open 24 hours. My wife will work 12 hours and I'll work 12 hours.
Yep.
We'll hire nobody. We don't have to pay anybody. all that money comes to us, the profit.
Yep.
They only make like a nickel on the gas. That's
So,
what he told me at that time.
Yeah.
So he opened up one. I had ran into him, I forget where, and he had a place in upstate New York. And then he ended up buying another one. And he paid all that money back to their family.
Oh, yeah.
So the Indian from India, their family unit is very, very tight.
Yeah.
And that's like the Jewish community.
Yep.
If you want to open a business, you go to the synagogue and you talk to the rabbi and say, I want to open up a business. If it's feasible and profitable, they'll give you the money to start up. And I think that's why a lot of people have a negative view on the Jewish population and sometimes the Indian population because they are very close.
Yeah, when I was
Now Italians, they don't want they're in compete. They compete with each other.
Yeah.
You know, they got a new car, we got to buy a new car. They just built a brick house, we're going to build a stone house.
But that's now. I think 60 years ago, 100 years ago, if somebody was struggling, the Italians would. Maybe feed.
We're talking now,
right? Yeah. But when I was living in Arizona, there was I was working in a restaurant, and there was a kid who was the bus boy. Mm-hmm. He was Indian. He worked there at the restaurant. He also worked at McDonald's. His younger brother worked at McDonald's and also had a second job. The mother worked 2 jobs and the father worked 2 jobs, and they were living in a motel. And
they probably bought that motel.
All later. 4 of them were working 2 jobs, and these kids were still going to high school. So
so they were to school and working.
2 jobs each.
These kids don't even want to go to school
anymore. No, these kids didn't have a day off because anytime there was a day off, they were working. Yeah, but all 4 of them were there, and they were all pooling all their money because they were going to buy a business.
And people say, well, how do they buy all these places? Because they work hard.
They work hard and they save, and they don't.
Yeah, we're one of the worst saving countries in the world.
Yeah, we can't
save a nickel,
right?
Including myself.
Yeah, but so again, I go. Would it be more beneficial, even financially, if we go back to when we were kids? If the dad was working, come home, the mom was cooking 3 meals a day,
good meals,
instead of going out. Because hey, we got to run out. Geez, we didn't take anything out for dinner tonight. Well, let's go to the restaurant.
That's because they have no time.
Right. There's no time, and they'll say I don't have time. And then and you see I just thought of this, like businesses like what's that? Something fresh where they'll package up meals.
Yes, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, there's a few businesses that got created basically to do that. To send packages to your home.
Healthy meals.
Where all the meals are there, and all you have to do is take them out and put it together real quick. But still, it's like, if dad is out working, let's say a white collar job, so 9 to 5 or whatever, and let's say mom is working, same kind of deal. She's working in an office, and she's so no one's coming home until 5, 6 o'clock at night. First of all, like if there's younger kids, who's letting them in the house?
What they call them?
Latchkey kids.
Latchkey kids.
Yeah. And that latchkey kids that goes back 40 some odd years, where kids were coming home, 7-year-olds are coming home, letting themselves in, and they're home for a couple of hours by themselves because mom and dad are both working. I just think the family would function better, and they would be more responsible in terms of money because they wouldn't be blowing it by going out to dinner every night or whatever. So it goes back to my premise of like feminism has been a horrible thing for women and families.
Yeah, I agree. And we could go down all kinds of roads on that if you wanted to talk about it.
Like
abortion.
Oh, yeah.
Abortion.
Yeah.
People say, well, it's our right. I understand that, but the whole Roe versus Wade was actually based on a lie. The lady was never raped and never pregnant. She even admitted that in an interview. Even the Ruth Bader Ginsburg said that law needed to be redone.
Yep.
Yeah, and she was as liberal as you could get as a Supreme Court justice.
Yeah, and then you go to the lady for Planned Parenthood, Margaret Sanger. If you look back, she basically wanted to wipe out the black race.
Mm-hmm.
And if you doubt that, look where a lot of the abortion clinics are. They're in poor neighborhoods.
Yep. Just like liquor stores.
Yeah.
Poor neighborhoods. And it's really funny that you say that. Who was the first recipient of the Margaret Sanger Award? No one's going to believe this when
I
you
forgot
hear it.
that. I knew it. I forgot.
Martin Luther King.
Yeah.
And that had basically not wiped out, but stopped a lot of the black race from growing.
Yeah, there's always statistics that get thrown out how many births there would have been if there wasn't abortion.
And it's not just a black race. But
No,
that's
right.
one of the predominant.
Well, it became a form of birth control. Like, I'm pregnant, well, I'll get an abortion.
Just get an abortion. Yes. Yes.
Now, I'm not 1,000% against it. I understand if someone's raped or whatever, that they have different decisions to make. But when you use it as a form of birth control, I got a problem with it.
Me too.
I just don't like killing babies.
Nope.
And that's what you're doing. And when people are like, well, it's my body. Yeah, but it's not your DNA. Like when there's a fertilized egg, which is going to grow into a person.
Yeah, within so many days it has a heart.
Yeah, I think it's 5 weeks.
5 weeks.
Might be 5 weeks. I could be off. But it's not your DNA. So it's a separate being. So it's not your body, your choice.
And people will disagree, but these are our opinions.
Yeah, I mean,
we're not here to piss anybody off.
No,
this is the way we feel.
But if you're honest with yourself and you watch dissenting opinions about these things, you realize that I don't know if people look at it that way, like, well, it's my body, my choice. Well, but it's not your DNA. It's a completely different person. And there was a comedian, Bill Burr, actually, who has a bit about it where people would say, well, it's not a baby yet. And he goes, well, if I took cake batter and I started mixing cake batter and I put it in a pan and I put it in the oven, and 5 minutes later you went over, opened the oven and took the pan and threw it across the room, I would say, like, hey, what'd you do with my cake? And they would say, well, it's not a cake yet. He goes, yeah, but if you left it in there, it would have been a cake.
Would have been a cake, yeah.
So it's an interesting bit to put it that way, but yeah, but I think again, feminism says, well, you can do this and it's okay to do this, and but I also watch these other videos with these younger girls around a table talking with this guy who was moderating the whole thing. And to listen to these girls, and they're in their 20s, a lot of them are doing it OnlyFans and stuff like that, and they're talking about, well, look at the money I'm making. I'm making X amount of money a year.
Millions somewhere.
Yes, right. And they're talking like, well, this is about money, not about, okay, so at some point, do you ever want to settle down? And who are you going to find to be with when you have a history like that? I'm not. Most guys don't want to know that the rest of the world has seen you naked,
or the things that you do,
right? But they have this attitude of like, well, I could do this. Well, yeah, you could.
Sure, you can. What
are
the consequences?
Right. What are the consequences to you, to the birth rate in this country, which is
plummeting?
We're in negative birth
plummeting.
Rate. Yeah. So I don't know. It's just like I said. This is just a topic that I thought would be interesting to just throw it out there with no understanding of like, what are we going to do now?
I mean, well, they made it this way, and plus, if you really think about it, wages have not increased buying power since the 70s.
Yeah.
I remember my dad coming home from a factory saying to my mom, I just got a dime. I got a dime raise, and the cost of living just went up 15 cents. So I'm still behind.
Yep.
But it's funny because we had a house. We didn't have an apartment.
Nope.
We had a car.
And it ran.
It ran.
Yep.
And then Dad's first new car was 1971. I still remember going with him to the lot.
Yep.
It was a Plymouth Fury 3, big old boat.
Yeah.
I still remember going to the lot and picking that car out.
Yeah.
Not me, but him.
No, I know. Yeah, but being there.
Yeah,
right.
but being there.
Yep.
No, I'm a car nut too. Like bikes too. I like bikes. But anyhow,
His Ford,
We were doing it.
the Ford 500 Galaxy, that wasn't new?
That was that was not new.
Oh, I thought
that was not new.
I thought that was new.
Yep. And he sold that car before he got the Fury. And the guy he sold it to actually drove it to the junkyard because the frame was all rotted.
Yeah,
but
the guy
motor
drove
was
it for
great.
years.
Oh, yeah.
The guy drove it for years.
Three on the tree, if anybody knows what that is.
Yeah.
Make a comment if you know what 3 on the tree means. But a lot of people don't. A lot of people can't even drive standard anymore.
Yeah. Wow.
I miss those days.
Yep.
But, yeah. Anything else you want to
No, I just thought
that was interesting.
I thought this would be fun to just throw out a topic that you didn't know. And
yeah, no, I agree on that.
Yeah,
I agree on
and it's
that.
completely.
I think the whole right now it's structured to break up the family. They don't want families together.
No, because I just thought of this too. Because today is a Sunday when we're doing this, families don't even go to church anymore.
No,
doesn't matter what.
In Waterbury, most of them
They're all
are
closing.
closed.
Yeah,
all the Catholic churches.
Yeah,
no one supports them no more
because the family is falling apart. I mean, there are some churches where yes, but for the most part, it seems like Sundays, the churches parking lots were full. But you go way back to probably when you were born, but when I was a kid, there was nothing open on Sundays.
No, they had the blue laws.
The blue laws, yeah. You pretty much went to church and you went home or you visited relatives.
And you had meals together.
Yeah.
That was a time for family and church.
Yeah, and if anyone watching this is Italian, you know waking up on a Sunday morning, all you could smell was the sauce already
and not gravy.
Already simmering.
It ain't gravy.
No,
it's
not gravy. But it was already simmering on the stove.
Gravy I put on my
mashed potatoes
and my mashed potatoes.
Anyways.
Yep.
Okay.
So I just want to see you. Hopefully, people put out some comments and please like and subscribe. Hit the notification bell. I've lost it there for a minute. We just want to thank you very much. This is an interesting topic, and we want to see some of your comments.
Yeah. So as we always end, don't forget that you have a voice, and don't let anyone silence it. And obviously, no one silenced this one.
No, they may want to try.
All right. See you next time.
Bye-bye.